Sandpiper Sally.
Sally, I was hoping as part of doing this website, you could be a friend to Tracy's and mine at the same time by conveying some things to her, or my conveying some things to you. I should humanize myself with you because I have a feeling that Tracy really is like Jodi Arias. So I'm afraid that she's probably turned me into something I'm not. But let me just convey through you to her that there were supernatural reasons why I was brought into her life. I mean, she's destroyed my life. And I had escaped Deckers. I'd escaped the Lockers and Evan Bishop and everybody, and I'd quit my job, quit my apartment, and I was headed out of town. I was going up north the way I, had planned years before. Probably would have ended up in the Santa Cruz area next. Or maybe I would have gone all the way up to Seattle, but here's what happened. She seduced me, and she wanted me so badly, and I felt sorry for her because she was always trying so hard with those people, and it just became, like she was the hurt dog. And then she made it possible for me to live with Desperado again, and that was an amazing thing for me, because I just found it so hard. I couldn't work, with that dog because she couldn't bear to be without me. And anyway, she got me to change my whole plans and everything, and I got an apartment in Summerlin. She would come over to my apartment. We started living together right away. And so we would either be at I guess it was mostly at my apartment for the first, month or 2 months or something like that, even though she had an apartment in Santa Barbara. She would park right under this street sign, Colville Road or Drive or whatever it is. It's in Summerlin, you can see it. And that's where Tracy always parked. And the thing about that was I went, oh my God. When she divorced me and dumped me, for John Dordan and QAD success, she's a very insincere, borderline personality disorder woman. When she needed John Dordan the way she needed me earlier. She's a stair-stepper kind of thing. The Colville sign, I'm going, oh my God, because Tracy had cheated me out of everything. Probably owes me, just from that divorce, just from when it happened, about $350,000. The only thing I asked her for, this is the only thing, is to take the name of her lawyer off of the papers because her lawyer's name was Colville and our son's name is Cole. And I thought, that's just too hurtful. I can't stand it. I couldn't stand the idea of a Colville taking away my son from me. He was 4 years old at the time, and I knew what was going to happen, and I knew how bad it was going to be, and it was, Sally. And the only thing I asked her to do, and she didn't do it, so Attorney Colville, you won, you assholes, you won. The only thing Jean asked is that your name be taken off of the papers so it wouldn't be there for all time. And the evil of Tracy and what she did to me, and me not knowing at this point at all that Teva Sandal had been made, and that's why Doug was getting all wealthy and successful. Gene Crimmy has a very compartmentalized mind, in part because of what he learned from Dr. Russell Levy, his advisor at Aurora University, and beginner's mind, and just a lifelong quest, and the fact that he's in touch with his relatives from the past who gave him his auto invention. Anyway, Tracy has a number of supernatural things that happened just like that. When we got married, Sally, we got married in Carmel, California. We lived in Santa Barbara on Figueroa Street, a little side street. Happens to be the same street that Joyce Dudley and the police department is on. Figueroa Street, but it's a side street in Santa Barbara. Well, we got married September 22nd, 1987, And a week before that, Tracy had called ahead and got our marriage license. So one of the things, when we went up to Monterey, we had to pick up our marriage license and then find the person that she'd arranged for us to get married. The marriage license was issued on the same day that Doug Otto and Mark Thatcher and Carl Lockyer cheated me by way of a fraudulent patent for my Teva sandal. So they waited, because Tracy and I both worked with all of those disgusting people, and they waited until we were out of town getting married and on our honeymoon so they could be on the phone and do all the cheating and talk about it and talk about how great, how much money they were making off of my sandal and how they weren't living up to our contract, even though Gene Crimmy at the time was spending 7 days a week building QAD software, the company that Gene Crimmy named QAD. So if I want to call it QAD software, well, I'm already the one who named the company QAD. When Tracy and I were getting married in Carmel, California, on September 22nd, 1987, my hero in the world was Bob Vila, the home improvement guy. And Chippo and I had, this old house, and those guys were our hero. And Chippo admitted to me one time that his hero had become Rich Trethewey, and and then I said, oh no, it's Bob Vila, and it was half kidding. But Tracy, because she has borderline personality and she just sort of takes on the personality of the man she's with, she had really gotten into the whole idea of us, and this is what we wanted to do more than anything. We wanted to buy rundown houses and fix them up and enjoy the profit from that, but enjoy the doing of the thing. So Tracy was buying book after book about home improvement, and she had a hero, a woman hero, who was a home improvement woman, and her husband, and she was, patterning herself after that. Remember, she has borderline personality disorder, which makes her really gung-ho into whatever thing it is, but she can dump you in a second, like she did me, if she wants to go gung-ho into something else. Here's the amazing thing. We were a little bit early for our appointment with the woman who married us on a cliff overlooking the ocean in Carmel, California. That's where we got married, September 22nd. And so here's an amazing thing. I've already set the stage. We're both totally into remodeling houses. That is what we are going to do with our lives. We're going. Carmel, California is just is a woven. If it was streets, little houses, little streets. They're little houses, but they're magnificent, beautiful, multi-million-dollar houses. Anyway, we're looking for Robinson Jeffers' stone house, and we stop at a stop sign, and we got the windows down, and here's a couple and a dog and another man, I think, and we're there for a minute, and who is it but Bob Vila? So we chatted for a minute, had a nice little thing with Bob Vila, and I've always said to myself, why didn't I say, we're going to get married, you're my hero, could you spend a half an hour with us and become my best man? So Bob Vila, if I ever do get married, I've got to do that, because what the hell were you doing there? Well, I know what you were doing there, Bob Vila. You weren't really doing it. You were just, you were enjoying California, yes. But the reason you were in California is to remodel a house in Santa Barbara. Guess where the house was, Bob Vila? On Figueroa, exactly 1 block from the house that Tracy and I lived in. We lived in a fourplex. And every day I would walk Desperado right by that house, because it was, I turned the corner on Olive and go, and that was our walk. And there's no chance in the world I wouldn't have insinuated myself on you guys there, because, as I say, you're my hero. But we gave up that apartment and to save Decker's Outdoor, to live in a motorhome, because Tracy was all gung-ho about us living in a motorhome. And that's what we did. We gave up everything to live in a motorhome to save Decker's Outdoor, because you assholes were on your last ropes. People, look at Decker's Outdoor and what they have built with Gene Crimmy saving them. How ridiculous. There's a bunch more stuff with Tracy. You know, when we had our son, 2 adult storks spent the entire day. We had two pine trees on our little property. One at the top of one pine tree, one at the top of the other. Maybe they were Douglas firs, I don't know. 2 storks. They spent the entire day there. They left the next morning, the day our son was born, Sally. Tracy has reason after reason after reason why she needs to think about what she's done. Her name is Teresa Ann Taylor. Her mother saw that name, Teresa Ann Taylor, on a store in Santa Barbara when Tracy's mother was on her honeymoon. That's why, so Tracy was named Teresa Ann Taylor long before she came into this world. Here's an interesting thing. My grandfather's best friend was Sim Draper. Now, Draper's became by far the most famous women's fashion store in Pasadena. It's where all the rich women from San Marino bought their clothes. And he was my grandfather's best friend. My grandfather designed the store for him. It was Sim's mother's house. My grandfather designed, and it's still there. It's an iconic Art Deco or something design, or Art Nouveau, and it's a magnificent building. I'd love to buy that building just to preserve it, to make sure. So Draper's, a fashion store in Pasadena, a fashion store in Santa Barbara. It's another reason, but letting our son down the way Tracy has all his life. And now she's with John Dorden, who's the one man that I can say stabbed me in the back and helped steal everything from me. And remember Sally, in 2008, after I'd made my demand letters for payment of the Teva Sandal, because they all know what they did to me, I withheld the fact that they had swindled Evan Bishop, yes, so I can come back and say it now, and you know, because it added to their arrogance and it proved what evil assholes they are. You can't believe how good I was to all of them, including Tracy. So please, Sally, talk to Tracy and let her know that there is real trouble afoot between her husband and my son if I die unsatisfied. I want to be satisfied, Sally, because among other things, I think I offer Tracy the only chance of her becoming mentally well. To whatever extent I can help her do that, I will.
And you think you had a good reason to think that before. Come on back. Who are you, some part to be calling names?